In this video, I'm here to talk about a small tale. This may seem like some very ordinary tale about how some random kid made an amigurumi ball and started crocheting, but this isn't just about crochet. It's about an epiphany of sorts I had while doing so. It's about how dabbling into a new art form provided me a new perspective and reminded me of something that I thought I had lost. My relationship with crochet is quite interesting. I tried to learn how to do so at around age 9, I'd say. My first experience with crochet is when a lady tried to teach me how. I managed to create a good chain or two. My grandmother also gave me some crocheting supplies because she knew that I had gotten into it. But after that first experience, I never tried again. But I kept the yarn. I kept the hooks, just in case. Now, I'd say it's been 6-7 years since I attempted, but recently my interest was rekindled. I kept seeing these adorable amigurumi toys, and the thought of being able to create such lively, unique stuffed animals myself gave me this feeling of excitement. Given that I had saved my yarn, I saved the hooks, I saved everything, I thought, you know what? Today is the day. And it was. I began looking up tutorials online just as I had when I started off with digital art. I had no idea where to start, but eventually I got the hang of it. I began to make my first chains of single crochets and then slowly dabbled into half double and double crochet, all of which sounded foreign to me until not too long ago. And then eventually I tried creating a magic ring, and you know what? I actually managed to make my first little ball, my first little amigurumi ball. And it was after this ball that something very important was taught to me. You see, the process to make this ball was very interesting. See, I was so excited to create it. I went along with a YouTube video, slowly trying to understand the instructions, and slowly but surely I was building up the chains. I was so confident in my ability to make good chains because of my previous practice, and I went through quite a few of the instructions without any issue until I noticed that the amount of chains that I was resulting in was a couple less than what was instructed. So I looked at this very, very unfinished ball, and I'm like, hold on, I messed up. I messed up somewhere along the way. And my choices were to continue going, pretend it didn't happen, pretend I didn't make the mistake, and see what kind of abomination I come up with. Because, you know, it's just practice, right? But instead I decided, no. I'm going to unravel any and every chain until I figure out where the mistake was. And eventually, I think I got rid of a couple chains at least, if not 3 or 4, until I resulted in the correct amount of stitches for that particular chain. From then on, I tried to pay even more attention to every little stitch I made. I counted constantly. I was double checking to make sure that I put the stitches in the right spots. I continued like this for the whole way, but even then I continued to still make some mistakes. The thing is, I was catching them earlier and earlier so that I could fix them without having to undo so much of my progress. Until finally, I filled it all up. The process, even though I made mistakes, even though I had to go back and I had to really I had to do a lot of meticulous work just counting and making sure that I wasn't blind to mishaps that were going on. It was fun. It was exciting. I felt passionate about this creation that I had made. And that's when it hit me. My goal was to make a ball, and I made a ball. It wasn't just, try and then go along with whatever mistakes I made. No. I put in the effort to make sure that what I envisioned was as close to what I got as possible. And this is something that I have just been missing from my art lately. You see, when I started off on this digital illustration learning journey back in 2021, my main struggle was that I had so many grand ideas, but did not feel like I could properly portray them. And that's what art showed me I could do. It showed me that it was possible, that with the practice and the determination, that I could portray those ideas to people. I could show people what's inside of my mind. My stories, my characters, my thoughts, my feelings, everything. Art was a way of expressing those ideas out in a way that people could be inspired by, to resonate. While the goal, for the most part, stayed the same, there was something that I lost along the way. I began to lose sight of my ideas. It began to just be about the process and not about getting to a particular destination. That may sound silly because a lot of people say that the journey is more important than a destination, which, while I agree with this, if you don't have sight of a destination, it seems like the process begins to not mean as much. At least with art, and at least with my personal experience. Even when there's times that I'm just mindlessly, or what seems to be mindlessly, putting lines and colors on a canvas just to see what's in the depths of my mind, that's still a goal. It's still trying to see if I can express my feelings, the abstract that are so hard to portray in words. Even then, even in that vent art kind of way, there was still that goal in mind. It wasn't completely mindless. It was just a more subconscious goal rather than a conscious goal. And this little crochet ball, this experience with crochet, made me realize what I had been missing. I'd been missing that sense of going towards a destination. I've been so caught up in trying to make my process more efficient, getting faster at drawing, getting more skilled, just getting better at the act of drawing. But without that very, very initial foundation, without proper sight of your ideas, of your goals, it begins to fall apart. It begins to not mean as much as it used to. And then you're left wondering, where did the passion go? Where's that spark that I once had? Why is it not there anymore? But then it's there. I found it again. I think the most important thing, besides this epiphany, is experimentation. I could have learned this lesson in any way. I've seen other people say similar things to what I'm just remembering. I've seen it in movies, I've seen it in countless things, but sometimes you just need something fresh. I think it's why we like analogies so much. We can see the situation in a new lens, in a new, possibly easier and more obvious way. And that's what this did for me. That's what this did for me.